Hey, fight fans, welcome back to Carlo Perusa MMA. I am Carlo Perusa, and today I am with mixed martial artist Mr. Joey Ruquet. Coming off of a huge win, CFFC took out an undefeated guy, brought home the gold, one of your newest CFC's champions. Joey, what an amazing weekend for you. Are you still living on the high, man? Are you still feeling the momentum from the win?
Yeah, it was honestly I was confident going in, so it wasn't a big surprise for myself. Um, I guess it was more who I beat than it was winning the belt, like just coming over someone who's never been beat before, that's a good win. But no, I don't think I really got the high from it, honestly. I was more grateful, as I would say.
You took out Shaykhaev, a guy 12-0 fighter from Dagestan coming into this contest. No one's been able to figure him out. Before this contest, you hadn't fought in a year. When you first saw the opponent, what was going through your head? Did you have that feeling right away that you could get the job done here?
No, I don't really hesitate. I think I answered within a couple minutes. He's like, "Hey, I got a 12-0 guy, blah blah blah. I think he's beatable." And how do you feel? It's because I had actually an MCL injury and I wasn't training, and I was on a camping trip with my family, and I got a call saying about the fight, and he's like, first the question he asked was like, "How's your knee gonna hold up?" And I was like, "I think it's gonna be good." And we took it kind of easy the first week getting in, and then kind of recessed it, and then went hard from there, and never gave me a problem. But going from not training as much to hardest fight camp of your life, I got ready for this fight in 5.5 weeks, bro.
That's crazy. At what point in the fight did you really start thinking in your head, okay, I have this guy? Was it a certain round?
No, before, like, I don't know if you watch that fight when I'm pacing back and forth as they're announcing my name, I believe I'm speaking to him, and I'm already telling him I won. I said I'm gonna be champ. You're not gonna beat me, and I already knew. I came in 100% confident.
Obviously a big win for you. A lot of people within the mixed martial arts community is aware of this one and, acknowledges how great of a win it was. With being a guy like this, does this put you closer, you think, at a potential contender series or some more of the bigger shows?
I think I've proven enough in my career. People who have really paid attention to what I've been doing. um, the caliber of fighters I've already fought. Like I already know my level is within the top 10 of the UFC, 100% right now. Shikai was very, very good at doing what he was doing, is not giving me space, holding on. So I wasn't able to showcase my skills as much. But if you look at my bare knuckle fight. You look at anything my fights are bloody. They're brutal. You never know where I'm gonna win, whether it's a TKO, a knockout, a submission. Obviously I've proven that I can wrestle at a very high level. I have jujitsu. I threw more submission attempts than he did. And then as far as it came down to the stand up, I had crisp boxing. I slipped everything, blocked majority of everything, tore up his leg, did all the damage, had good footwork and kickboxing. Like I'm well rounded, I'm not a one-dimensional fighter, and UFC would have me in as an asset. I don't think I have anything to prove. I don't need the contender series. Give me a shot.
You mentioned how well rounded you are, and it really shows when anyone watches you fight. At what point in your career did you really start thinking, hey, if I want to go to the big shows, if I want to do this, make some really good money doing this, I need to be as well rounded as possible?
Yeah. That was never a thing. That was just more of my passion. I'm artistic in general, and I think that not one martial art is better than the other. I believe that in different scenarios of the fight, one martial art has better weapons than the next. And I like to blend it. Like, you're talking close counters. You would never go in a fight just doing a keto, but if we're against the cage and I can grab your wrist, a keto might come in handy to get you off balance. Or Wing Chun, as far as wrist locks, you're not going to come in trapping arms and stuff in the middle of the fight. But if you're holding my wrists and I'm in your guard, I can use arm traps and small back fists to get you to move and manipulate the way you move just by small strikes instead of pulling back wide punches and being, you know, creating too much space, staying tight, being technical everywhere. So I like blending martial arts and using them, my weapons, depending on who I'm fighting. So people really can't go and look at my next fight and go, okay, this is how he fights. I'm able to adjust my style and the way I approach things depending on who my fighter is because I know I have a lot of weapons.
Mixed martial arts is something that has really taken off. Obviously, it's relatively young sport. I mean, 25, 30 years old, maybe. And obviously back
Yeah.
in the day, it was referred to as human cockfighting. People thought this was criminal activity. It was banned at so many different places. And, it's really come a long way. You've been doing this now for about 10 years between the AME career and the professional career. When you first started getting into it about 10 years ago, do you have any
15 years. Actually, it's been 15 years.
Oh, it's been 15.
There's a lot of my fights that are not recorded or posted up,
That's even
but I've
better.
been doing this since 2008.
So when you first started in 2008, do you have any stories from you that you experienced your teammates of fighting for promotions with unsafe fighting conditions, maybe barns, bars, mystery opponents, guys?
No.
Nothing crazy like that?
No, no, no. We used to fight in any casino. I know in Florida back in the day, we weren't allowed to ground and pound to the face. So we had Pitt's had a MMA organization at the Immokalee Casino, and I did my first like 12 amateur fights there, and they were sanctioned by the ISKA, but I don't know why they're not on Tapology. Like, there's a ton of fights that I have on footage a little bit, but like they're like, it's distorted back when we had flip phones and stuff. So it's cool.
When you first started getting into this, did you ever see that? Did you envision the sport to blow up to what it is today? How mainstream, how popular it is, how many different big shows? Did you see that coming?
Not at all. I think it's taken a good turn. I'd like to see, one thing I would love to see martial arts change into is being able to categorize the level of fighters to be able to pay them accordingly, like baseball has their double A and their triple A and all that. Like, we need to figure out how we're having our like A class pros and your B class pros, because you can have these guys, like, I don't know. I know what my worth is, and I know a lot of amateur not amateur, um, lower level pro fighters that have that type of talent. They're still getting paid a certain amount just because to go pro, there's no real requirements where you do 5 amateur fights and you go pro. And if you don't want to do your pro debut for $1,000, there's 100 little bastards behind you that will do it. So finding fighters isn't hard, but we need to be able to categorize to be able to pay our fighters what they're worth. Because at the end of the day, we're the show, and I don't feel a lot of the organizations out there really um are even with that, or fair with that, I should say.
You mentioned already a little bit, talked about how mixed martial arts is an art form and how you are a mixed martial artist. One of the other ways I think the sport has changed is the adaptation of personality. Now
Right.
you see in certain shows, you may not be the best mixed martial arts in the world. You may not be well rounded, but if you have that character, if you have that
Right.
personality, well, you're going to get a title shot a lot quicker than a lot of other
For
guys.
sure.
What are your whole thoughts on how this has all changed and has been embedded in this whole game?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a show, and you need to put asses in seats. That's part of the game. So you can't just be a good fighter. You have to have something. Like, I'm building my character. I have the Indian headdress, and pretty soon I got some stuff coming in that the fans are gonna love. But you got to have a theme. Chuck Liddell was the Iceman. Tito had his fire shorts. Like, people have to want to see you at the end of the day. You can't just be good. I mean, even the guy I fought, Joe Penafel. I mean, that guy's been losing fights, but he's fighting on a regular basis because people want to see him fight. He talks some smack. You either want to see him win or you want to see him lose, at the end of the day.
After that fight, we talked, and I mentioned, I was like, he was talking a lot of smack, trying to get into it with you in the hotel,
Yeah.
media stuff. He was really putting on a performance that week. Mr. Penfield was. You mentioned to me that I know that I'm older now because if he tried that 6 or 7 years ago, I probably would have lost it on the guy.
Right.
Was that a big moment for you? Did you see some growth maybe in yourself and like your MMA game, everything from that experience?
I saw it before, like I already know how I handle situations now versus back then. So I was already mentally prepared. Especially my coach had me like not just training with people for the fight, but having everybody talk smack to me randomly and get me like try to make it personal and stuff like that. So as far as being mentally prepared for that, we trained all aspects.
Do you think that mixed martial arts is more physical, sorry, more mental than is physical?
Absolutely. Because you could be the best fighter in the world, but if you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to perform like you should. That's why you see some of these guys who train really, really good in the gym and then don't perform like they're supposed to in the fight. And then even they know it. They're like, man, I'm so many missed opportunities, or they're like, man, I didn't do as good as I thought. It's because of hesitation and not believing in yourself, not no confidence.
When you first started getting into the sport in 2008, did you ever envision a time where we could potentially have a sanctioned bare knuckle mixed martial arts association?
I like it. It brings back childhood memories. You know, um, I've really liked the bare knuckle. I was hoping actually that my first title fight would be with them, but it's all good. Um, this is going to open up some good doors. But I do like bare knuckle a lot. It's feels more surreal. I feel like my style is built more for bare knuckle. You can't overthrow, and I have a good control on which punches are power and which punches are for setting up and technique, and you're able to really pick your shots and do damage in bare knuckle. And my head movement allows me to not really get cut up so much. I feel like more of the bare knuckle fighters are more game to fight, like they're down to throw down, but I feel like they're not as talented as far as like more of the talented people don't want to get hurt, so you see more of the ex UFC fighters, or just people who are game to fight. That's, at the end of the day, they want to see a fight. So not talking smack, but I mean as a professional level. um yeah.
Obviously, when you take off the gloves and do some bare knuckle action, you really have to think about the striking. It's maybe not so much more power because you don't want to break your hands, but
Right.
more accuracy. You really need to
More
be
damage. Yeah, yeah.
shot. When you went from training that to fight Joe to then putting the gloves back on for your most recent contest, did you find any maybe benefits of just like really honing in on the whole accuracy?
um no, nothing really changed. Honestly, I feel like, yeah, like at the end of the day, like you do more damage. Like my jab would have done a hell of a lot more damage to his face if it was bare knuckle. Like I could have cut him open plenty of times, and he would have kept his distance more maybe. So there's a lot of benefits and disadvantages, with gloves.
You mentioned earlier you thought that your first title shot would be without the gloves on. Is bare knuckle, is that still something you may consider, maybe be up to down the line?
Absolutely, I've been waiting for a call, man.
No, absolutely. So, going forward here, what's next for you, man? I mean, obviously, you did the whole 1 year off, got a huge win. Do you want to try to stay as active as possible now?
Absolutely. I'm actually gonna sign with Iridium, so
Oh,
they're
wow,
gonna keep me busy.
congratulations. Awesome.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, Jason House, hear a lot of good things. Been talking to him for a few years. Recommended to me by my head coach as well, and I know he represents a lot of good people. And I've had no management for like 2 years now, and it's been good. I've been liking not paying for the fee, but it's always good to have people represent you, especially when you want to go certain places.
What's the goal now? What is the goal in your whole mixed martial arts career these days?
Um, I was 17 years old, sitting in front of my dad's TV, watching Uriah Faber and Jens Pulver and Jose Aldo on the WEC, and we're all sitting around saying, "Oh, I could fight him. I'd stay in there with him. You think you could fight him? Yeah." As ignorant as we were as kids, and we all said we were gonna go do it, and then me and Charlie Radke actually w- we've been sticking with it. We started together. We actually used to live together. Back when he was 19 years old, he stayed with me and my mom. And got a lot of good training memories. We go to the gym, we train, and then we completely matted out my mom's living room with mats, and we would train again as soon as we got home. We just drill exactly what we learned. And me and him stuck with it. Here we are, you know. So the next thing, honestly, I feel I'm headed in that direction. You know, I feel deep in my heart that I'll get a call from the UFC. I don't care if it's on a day's notice. I'm ready. I stay ready.
You know, so many people watch this sport in this day and age. I mean, it's gone really big, it's gone really mainstream, but very few people, I think, understand what it's like to be a professional fighter.
Right.
Battling it out on the regional scene might be one of the hardest things I think anyone can do. Um, you know, you guys aren't making millions of dollars fighting on the regional scene. There's a lot of training that goes into it. A lot of guys have 9 to 5 jobs. They have kids. They have a wife. There's a
Mhm.
lot of things to do. You have to train for hours, maybe get punched a little bit, deal with a bunch of guys who want it just as bad as you do. What has made you want to stick through all these sacrifices, my friend?
Having been blessed with a really good support team, you know, my mom would never let me get up. You know, my wife would never let me give up. My coach would never let me give up. Anytime I got one of those down days, or I didn't want to go to the gym and I was at the house or anything like that, my wife would go, you know, I know you don't want to do it, babe, but you gotta do what champs do. And, you know, it didn't matter what time it was or whatever, she'd always give me that support. And then for this fight camp, I was sleeping in the gym. I completely isolated myself away from my family, made everything as difficult as possible, put myself in horrible situations for this entire fight camp. I literally lived, breathed, and ate gym. Like I ate at the gym, I woke up, I train, I rest, I train. Like we're talking like 8, 9 hours a day for this fight. So I already knew I put in way too much work to lose.
You know, for someone who's been doing it for such a long time, is it crazy to see how the talent has evolved through the years? Because now you get fighters who are starting to compete. Jiu-jitsu at 7, 8 years old. By the
I
time they're
know.
18, they have like 5 AME fights. Is it amazing?
I know I'm gonna have to fight a ninja, bro. I'm already thinking, I'm like looking at these little kids and I'm like, which one of you want to go down? Like, I'll make my mark now.
Oh, that would be definitely really interesting. But all right, Joey, last question for you, my friend. In the perfect world, you know, there's some 2024 left, 4 months here. We're going into 2025 here in the near future. What do you want to accomplish? What's next on your radar?
Next goal, I would say get into the UFC. You know, I have 3 businesses that I own. I'd like to get them more successful, but I think right now I need to focus in on my fight career. You know, time ticks. I got momentum going. My wife supports me 100%, so going hard in the fight game.
You know, before we wrap up, you mentioned a good point. You have businesses. Is it important, you think, for fighters to recognize you may only have a short window to do this and maybe think of other things?
Dude, I don't spend I spend maybe $1,000 out of every fight. I do a some little 1 week vacation with the family, but like I spend 1,000. That's it. The rest of it I invest in myself, whether I'm buying things for my businesses or investing in my talents or investing in tangibles like gold or silver or stocks or crypto. Like you shouldn't be saving and wasting your money, especially if you're not getting paid a lot as a fighter. You should be investing that. 100%.
Well, Joey, thank you so much for talking with me, my friend. I can't wait to watch you going forward here, and I hope to see you back in action soon.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Well, that's it for us today. That's Mr. Joey Ruquet. I'm Carl Prusa. Stick around, fight fans.